Hi, everyone. Welcome to the final session From Thesis to Book. We have covered a lot of ground, talking about writing strategies to finish your ebook, then to take the ebook and convert it into an audiobook and a foreign language translation and a course, and many other things since then. Now we're going to cover questions that you have submitted just to make sure that there isn't anything missing. One of the big things I want to touch on is a topic that I've heard come up frequently when it comes to online marketing, and also something that I have used quite a bit to pretty good success, as have other people. Now, this isn't for everybody, so don't feel like you have to do it if you're not up for it or it doesn't make sense for your business model, but this is something that I do want to mention. What is this thing? Webinars. One of you asked me about how to use webinars as an author. Let me tell you a little bit about webinars, how they can be used, then how to structure one for yourself, and then free tools you can use to set up your own. So basically, a webinar is a presentation, whether it's you talking at the camera or a PowerPoint presentation that you're doing, that you broadcast over the internet. You've probably watched a webinar before. In its most basic form, it's a Google Hangout where you see somebody presenting their PowerPoint slides to people. There are different types of software that can be used to broadcast a webinar. Some, like GoToWebinar, can cost hundreds of dollars a month and are limited to 500 people. There are others like Google Hangouts that are absolutely free that use the hardware horsepower of Google and can literally host up to 1 million people at a time. A year ago, President Obama hosted a Google Hangout, and there were a few million people up there at once. The benefit of a webinar are numerous. First of all, you get a lot of time with people. If you are posting about your new book on Facebook or LinkedIn or other social media, you might only get people's attention for 10 seconds, 30 seconds, or a minute. But with a webinar, you can sit down with someone and talk for 30 minutes and 40 minutes or 60 minutes. And there's something about the format that gives you a level of expertise that others don't. People get to listen to you speak, sometimes extemporaneously, but get into much more detail, and they see your expertise on the topic flow out. This is why webinars have become a favorite product promotional tool for internet marketers. They know that if they can get people to listen to them for 30 or 40 minutes, they can use that to justify selling them a product that might cost hundreds of dollars. They can do that in a way they couldn't if they were just posting something on Facebook, because they've had time to sit down and show people that they know what they're talking about. So here's what webinars mean for you as an author, and here's how I've used them in the past. What I did was I took the topic of a new book of mine. Recently, about 2 months ago, I released a book about Donald Trump, of all people. What I was trying to do with the book was show whether you love Donald Trump or hate Donald Trump, how do we understand him in the context of American history? Were there any other politicians like him in American history? If so, how does that explain his current popularity? I wrote a book on this topic, and in order to promote this book, I created a webinar that was based on the exact same topic. I just created a 30 or 40-minute webinar about the historical roots of Donald Trump. I made some slides to go along with it, about 50 or 60 slides. And then at the very end of the webinar, I said, if you would like to learn more, there were a lot of things I couldn't get into in this webinar, and I mentioned interesting stories to titillate them, to tell them I could have talked about this story and this story and this story, but I couldn't due to time restrictions. If you would like to learn more, I have a new book available on Amazon, which you can buy now. And then I would throw up the link and people could buy it there. This was a great way to engage with new people because I could promote my webinar on Facebook groups or LinkedIn groups that were connected to history. I actually went on Donald Trump fan pages. But whatever your book topic is, you can probably find a social media group out there that's interested in it. And if you tell people, hey, I have a webinar coming up on this topic, would you like to watch it? You can get a lot of new people to come in. You can get people to watch it and possibly buy your book. You can also get your launch team to support this as well. To help make this more clear, what I'm going to do is show you the slides that I used for my Donald Trump webinar, so you can get an idea of how to structure your very own. Then I will show you how to set up a webinar on Google Hangouts. Again, it's completely free, a very good, effective way to do this. Now, if you don't think this makes sense for your business plan, you don't have to do this. But if you're at least slightly interested, I would say go for it, because at the very least, you tried something that maybe didn't sell books, but you learned a new skill. At the very best, you might have been able to market your book to hundreds or even thousands of potential new customers. Let me run you through the slides that I have for my Donald Trump webinar. I am including at the end of this session these very PowerPoint slides, so you can use them to craft your own webinar if you want to. So here's my title slide. I begin with American history and Donald Trump, the 200-year roots of the Trump campaign. Then I tell people what they will learn, and I'm going to fly through these pretty quickly. You can go back over these and look closer if you want to. Once we're all done, again, I'll have these PowerPoint slides available for download. I say who I am. I establish my credentials, say I am a history professor, and here are the things that you will learn. I tell them other things that I do, that I have a podcast called History in 5 Minutes, that letting them know that I teach history in an interesting way so that what I tell them will be interesting because I know how to make history interesting. And I tell them I write other books about history. And so then I just give a little preamble about the Donald Trump campaign. I talk about how he's an interesting, unconventional politician. Here's a quote of his that shows how unconventional he is. Then I show how he's ahead in the polls as of January 2016. I then mention him in the context of American history. I mention what are the characteristics of the Donald Trump campaign. One is that he manipulates the media. The second is that he's like a political strongman like Vladimir Putin, and that he addresses voter fears like illegal immigration. Then I mention the historical antecedents to Donald Trump. Andrew Jackson, and then here I'm talking about Andrew Jackson and his historical backgrounds and what are things about him that resemble Donald Trump. William Jennings Bryan, my second historical figure, I mention his characteristics. Then Huey Long. Then George Wallace. All of this here, I'm now about 20 or 30 or 40 minutes into my webinar here. And what I'm doing, I just want to point out, I'm taking the notes of my book and I'm condensing it down. If I were to just read my book out loud, it'd be 3 or 4 hours. But in the format of a webinar, it's only 30 or 40 minutes. You can do the same thing. You can just take the text of your book, trim it down to its most interesting parts, to its most interesting 30 or 40 minutes. And right there, you have the script for your webinar. I'll also include my webinar script notes along with the slides for here, so you can get an idea of what it's like to put one together. All right, let's see. So then I just have a little wrap up where I mention the historical figures and I say, based on the past, what can we tell about the future? I say that he is the culmination of Neil Postman's Amusing Ourselves to Death. So I talk about the past, and then I mention what does the past tell us about the future. All right, so here is the point where what I'm doing is I give my presentation, but I tell them that now, because of time restraints, there's a lot of interesting things I couldn't say. For example, about Andrew Jackson and all the duels he fought. I thought, okay, that's interesting. People want to know more about that. Or Wendell Willkie, another failed presidential candidate who had no political experience. Here is where I say, if you would like to read more, here is my new book available on Amazon, American History and Donald Trump. And then I throw up a link where people can go to it and purchase it. This is a very cheap, simple way to market my book at the end. This was another thing. This wasn't for Amazon, but these were some other things that went along with it. And I also tell them that if they get on Amazon, it's discounted. The normal cost is $15, but they can get it for $5. It's nice to let them know that I can get it discounted, so you can apply some marketing psychology there. Then I throw up the link where they can purchase it, but there are tools within Google Hangout where you can create sales links really easy, and I'll show you that in a second. And like any good webinar, once you're done with your spiel, you give time for a Q&A where you let people ask you questions, and you stay there as long as you can until you're finished. And the Q&A can go on for 5, 10, 15 minutes. It depends on how many people are on there. But you spend time answering their questions, and that will do it. That's how you set up your webinar. Now, what I'm going to do is hop onto my desktop, and I'm going to show you exactly how to set up your own webinar for free using Google Hangouts. Okay, our starting place for all of this is your Google Plus page. You can probably find your Google Plus page if you're in Gmail, and you can click on that and get to your profile. You're going to go to the left side of the screen and click here, and you'll go down to this thing that says Hangouts. Click there. Go up here to Hangouts on Air. And then you'll create a Hangout on Air by clicking this button down here. The name of it is something related to whatever your webinar is. I'll say American History and Donald Trump, the 200-year-old roots of the Trump campaign. Then down here, you'll give a little bit more description, and I'll say who I am presenting it, how long it'll last, and yeah, some basic information like that. So here's what I'll say. Join me, Scott Rank, history professor, as I spend 1 hour analyzing the historical roots of the Donald Trump presidential campaign. Starts, I'm going to say later. Well, actually, let me show you what happens if you say later. You can schedule it anytime you want to. It could be March 25th, 7 p.m., duration 1 hour. You can go up to 8 hours, which is crazy. Almost all of yours will be between half an hour and 1 hour, I'll say. Public, that's who the audience is down here. You can add more groups if you're part of Google Circles or Google Groups if you use Google Plus as a social media tool. Public will mostly be fine. What this will do is when you schedule it, you'll get a link that you can send out to people. And when they go to that link at the scheduled time, then they'll be able to join your webinar. But I'm not going to schedule it for later. Oh, I want to mention one more thing. My time zone is here because I'm in Istanbul. You can set your time zone to whatever you want. And the great thing about Google Hangouts is it will automatically convert the time zone to wherever people are on Earth. But I'm going to go to now because I want to show you what it looks like when you create a Google Hangout. I'll click Share. It's loading the Hangout as we speak. Now here is the event. If you were to schedule the event in the future, you would get a link that you could post on Facebook groups, LinkedIn groups, and other things. That's pretty straightforward, so I won't show you that, but I will show you what happens when it comes time to actually host your event. You're going to come back to this screen in your Google Plus page where your Hangout will be, and you're going to click on this blue button over here that says Start. This screen will pop up right here. And there I am in the background, you can see. Now there's a button that says Invite Guests. We're not going to do that. We're going to hit Skip. And there I am. You can see me right here. Now here's what I do. For most webinars, you're not talking right at the screen. And I should note that we are not live at this second. This is not going out over the air. There's another button that you press to make webinars go out over the air. Now what I always like to do when I'm hosting them is to have my PowerPoint slides. I share my screen, my desktop with people so they can see my PowerPoint slides and I talk over them. So that way I don't have to look right at them for 30 minutes and it's awkward. Plus it's better to have PowerPoint slides that you can narrate over, kind of like your Udemy course, so they can see the information that's there and you can communicate it better. Here's how you show people your slides. You go over here to the left side of the screen and you'll see a green button that says Screen Share. I'm going to click on that and these are all the different windows I have open. I'm going to click on this window that I have. This window is my PowerPoint presentation right here, my American history and Donald Trump that I just showed you a second ago. Up here, I'll click on this thing that says Present to Everyone. I will do that. And now, if I come over here on my PowerPoint slide, when I toggle over to the next one, that's what people will see. As you can see over here, this desktop is what people are viewing at that second. And this PowerPoint slide, which is in a separate window, as I advance forward, it advances forward for them. So that's how I give my Hangout. Now I want to show you a couple of setup things. We are not live at this second. There's a big green button down here that says Start Broadcast. When you click on that, that will get your broadcast going. But I don't want to do that right now. I want to show you some other things to set up. Let's do some audio and video first. You'll see this gear icon that says Settings, and I want my microphone to be my ATR USB. That's my podcasting microphone that I'm using. Hit save. Good. When you're interacting with people, there's some cool features that Google has. First of all, if you hit this blue thing, you have a chat, and people can talk as you are presenting. Hi, everyone. And other people will be able to talk. This is really useful at the end when you have a Q&A. Another thing you can do as a marketer, and this is something I love, is up here on the left side of the screen is Showcase. When you click on Showcase, this is something that you can advertise to people. It says add an item from a website. Well, I'm going to hop over to Amazon and I am going to show you my book that I'm selling, American History and Donald Trump. Here is the link up here where they can buy it. Then I'll put this link up here where it says add an item. What Google will do is it'll automatically get the info and it will create a nice little button that people can click on. When you put that up, it's something that people will go to, they'll see a picture, and that will take them right to the sales page. I'll click here, show item, and now it's visible. I just clicked on that. Whenever people are ready, they can click on this button and it'll be available for sale and they can buy it. All right, well, that's initialized, the showcase thing. The chat box is initialized. What I'm going to do is click down here to start broadcast. You're about to go live on Google Plus and YouTube. It'll take a few seconds for it to go, but once it's ready, then you are live before all the people that joined it. Hi everyone, welcome to this presentation on American history and Donald Trump, the 200-year-old roots of the Trump campaign. And then you just get going and you advance forward in your PowerPoint slides when you want to go forward. Let me show you a couple of links down here. There's this thing on the bottom right-hand corner that says links. This link event page, you would have gotten this link after you created your Google Hangout in that screen I showed you a few before. But this https://google.com events, this is what you can paste on Facebook groups, on LinkedIn groups, on social media and say, hey everyone, I'm hosting this webinar. Would you like to join me? That's what you share with people. That's the screen that they'll go to. And that's how you can funnel them here and give a webinar presentation. So there's really not that much else to it. You have your PowerPoint slide back here. You go forward, you advance, you spend 30, 40, 50 minutes talking about what it is you want to talk about. Then you finally get to your book and you say, hey, if you would like to learn more about this, I have a book available that is full of interesting information that you will want to buy immediately. How can you buy it? Easily. By going to the right side of the screen, and I'll pull up the showcase thing. And yeah, just go to the right side of the screen, click on that link, and that will take you to the Amazon sales page where you can buy it today. And that's all you do. You tell them that it's available, and then you spend some time answering questions. And here, that is how you went and through a Google Hangout, and you easily created a free webinar that can potentially reach hundreds or thousands of people, doesn't cost you anything, and for some people, it can be a great marketing strategy. Well, there you were. That was how to set up a webinar. As I mentioned earlier, I have some resources for the section that you can use if you want to create your own. The first are those exact PowerPoint slides that I used when I was creating my Donald Trump webinar. Go ahead and use those as a basis for creating your own. You can edit it, do whatever. It's already also prefigured in 1280 by 720, which is the 16 by 9 dimensions that work best when you're doing a screen share for a webinar because it will fill up the whole screen. I'm also including the script that I made for the webinar. With the script, you can see how I set up the flow for it, how I introduced myself, how I presented the content, and it gives you an idea of about how long you need it to be. I think that was for a webinar that was about 45 minutes to an hour. You can make it longer, you can make it shorter, but it will give you a starting point at the very least. So lastly, I would also like to say thank you for sticking through the entire course and for learning everything here about how to take your academic research and turn it into a book. This has been something for me that I don't know if I exaggerate to say that it has been life-changing. It's been a lot of fun to take things that I studied, to give it to a broader audience, and also to earn new income streams from it, and then to take in information and package it in a whole bunch of different ways. So thank you for getting through to the end of this and for taking it upon yourself to learn. and to learn new ways to take your knowledge, which I think is valuable, and give it to people. So I wish you the best of luck as you go forward. Well, now I would like to answer any further questions that you have about anything that we have covered in this entire course. Please ask me any questions that you want, and I'll be happy to answer them.